So welcome to this blab. This is about email marketing. I'm happy to answer your questions, and I'm also happy to just blab about email marketing. I'm a big fan. I was just over in a friend's restaurant. He's also a client. It's called Fern Kitchen here in my neck of the woods of Portland, Oregon. And I was talking to him. He's an older fellow, not too much older than me, probably early 60s. And he was sort of complaining about oh, well, all of these different social media, what do I do with them all? And why bother? Now that I have LinkedIn, now that I have Twitter, now that I have Instagram, what do I do with it all? And the more I spend time on these various platforms, the more I notice and hear people who are thought leaders in the space both talking about, but particularly doing this. They are sending people to an email list sign up form. And so I will post mine, and you can see a little bit of how that works. If you sign up for my email list, and basically the sign up is tinyurl.com/join my list -Albert Kaufman. And maybe that'll be in the show notes. If there are show notes. So when people are on these various platforms, one of the things that a lot of them are doing is encouraging you to come to a place that they own. So whether that's their website or their email list, or giving them a call or sending them an email. So we are all looking for a way to connect with you and to stay connected. So when you're doing social media or anything else out in the world, it really makes sense to follow along, because that's at the moment what's working. Now, I can't read the future. I can't tell you what's going to work 5 years from now or 10 years from now. But I can say that currently what does work for people is email marketing. And so email marketing is permission-based. It means that someone has given you permission to reach out to them. As I mentioned earlier, it's a great way to have people come to your property, let's say, your website or your list, and then you can contact them in a repeated basis. And that's what marketing is all about, is sending messages to people that hopefully they want to hear in a repeated fashion, because that's what it takes for people to take action on something. So if you're selling a course, let's say, and you want to get that course out to a lot of people, or even if you just want one person to take the course, let's say, if I tell you, here, sign up for this course, well, you might say, thank you, that sounds interesting, and then you move on to something else. But if I tell you, hey, I've got this course, and then the second time I reach out to you, I share a chapter of the course with you, and the third time I reach out to you, I share, somebody who has benefited from that course, and et cetera, et cetera. So that is a little bit of the rhyme and reason of how marketing works. And the great thing about email marketing, for whatever reason, it's been, email has been around for a really long time. People do tend to change their email addresses over time, but the actual medium of communication has been with us for a long time. I had email in my life for a short period when I worked for Wang Laboratories in 1986. And I think the reason that I've stuck with it all these years and kind of made it my living is because I realized the power of it at that point. I was able, through the internal email system, to send an email to all of the secretaries. I was a secretary for someone in 1986. I was 25 years old. And I was able to send an email to all of the other secretaries in the company. Well, it was a multinational company with offices all over the world. Wang was responsible for, I think they had something to do with email, but I do know that they were very involved in scanner technology, printer technology, email and conferencing solutions, and and the word processor, which has now become the laptop, and taking typewriters to a new level. So it was an exciting place to be at the time. All the technology around me. I mean, had I played my cards right, I probably should have just stuck it out and stuck with the company and continued to stay in tech. But as it turned out, I ended up moving from there into a temp job, and then moving up into the New York City area. Hey, Twanda, welcome aboard. Oh, this is going to be great. Oh, you just made my day. Thank you very much. If you want to hop on, feel free. If you want to just lurk for a little bit, that's fine too. I'm excited to share this with you. So I was just telling a story before you jumped on about my first time having email. And I was working for Wang Laboratories in Bethesda, Maryland in 1986. And I was a secretary, and I was able to send out an email to all the other secretaries. Well, I didn't really think that much of it. I kind of figured, oh, this isn't typically done, someone emailing out 2,500 people at one time, but why don't I give it a shot? I think I was sort of feeling a little bit done with the job, but I've always been kind of feisty and like to try new things and like to push the edges a bit. So I sent out an email, Happy Secretary's Day, to 2,500 fellow secretaries, probably most of the women, mostly in the United States, Australia, England, Germany, and other places that Wang had offices at the time. I believe they are actually no longer in business, which is quite amazing. If you imagine a company with, I don't know, maybe 100,000 people working for them that doesn't even exist anymore. Anyway, so the email went out to the 2,500 secretaries, and it had a nice heart-shaped, graphic that I created out of, DOS characters. And for the next day or two, I received back responses, quite a lot of responses. And I was overwhelmed by the responses. Many of them were just like, Happy Secretary's Day to you too. They were just simple little things. But many of them were longer responses in asking me to engage in a dialogue with them. That led to just the knowledge of the power of sending something to a larger group and how that could go. Then since then, after that, I was no longer with that company. And so, I somewhat forgot about email, and email didn't exist in common circles. The next time I ran into email was probably in 1991. My mother was working at Princeton University, and she had an email address, as did many people in universities by that point. And she and I would email back and forth. I was living in Germany at the time, and we would email back and forth. And I had an email list of maybe 20 people at that point. In fact, it's kind of humorous to me. I still have the handwritten list of people whose emails I had at that point in the back of an old address book. And I'm positive that none of us on that list have the same email address anymore, or maybe one or two. I think my first email address was an AOL address, which still exists out there. And I was able to just keep in touch with my mother, and that was great. And, a couple of other people. It was a little bit isolating for me living abroad. And so it was really nice for me to keep in touch with everyone. The way I kept in touch more at that point was actually writing a newsletter to these folks and sending it to them in the mail. So I have been doing newsletters myself since I was a kid. I was part of a youth group called Habonim. In a way, I'm still part of it. It's really very much informed my life. I'm going to try moving forward just a little bit and see if that helps. Yeah, that looks better. Okay. So, so I was part of this youth group, and I wanted to, share the news of what the youth group was up to. And so I would send out a newsletter every so often. It wasn't just me. There were a number of people involved in it. Anyway, fast forward to 1991, and I was sending a newsletter to people who had been part of the youth group with me at my age level. And yeah, it was just something fun to do, and it was a way to keep in touch when I was living abroad. And then fast forward from there, email started to become much more a part of our lives, many people's lives, I would say, in like the 1995 time period. And perhaps a little bit more for me because I was living in Seattle at that point and working on Windows 95. I was doing tech support for Windows 95. And email was definitely starting to come in, and I was using it for work, and I was using it for pleasure more. And yeah, then I have been in high tech from then until now in a certain sense, but I was doing quality assurance work from 1995 until last year, maybe 2 years ago, when I stopped doing quality assurance work and really just devoted myself full time to helping small businesses thrive, just like my friend Twanda. I know you're going to hop on here soon. So to hop on, Twanda, you just click on the call in button if that interests you. And if anyone else is on here and wants to join in, Russell, I'd love to see your shining face on here if you'd like to. No pressure. So let's see. So I'm just giving a little history, I guess, of my time with technology and my understanding of email marketing and my understanding of connection and communication on this new platform, which is so exciting. I've been blabbing for the last week, and I've turned on a few people to it and watched their eyes light up, and it's very exciting. There may be other things like this out there. I understand that Zoom is similar, and I know everyone always brings up Google Hangouts, but there's a way that this is a game changer, and I'm not going to talk about it right now unless someone wants me to. I'm going to stick to the topic. But the name of this blab is Getting Your Questions Answered. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to put them in the chat box on the bottom right, and I will do my best to answer them. For now, I'll just keep telling my story and telling you why it's important to have email going on. Actually, I will fast forward to the current day. And one of the things that I realized last night was I was talking to a friend of mine on Blab, and we have been trying to figure out ways. He's interested in selling domains. He has 1,100 URLs that he's been collecting over the years for different businesses. And he would like to figure out a way to sell the domains and talk about the domains. And he likes that space, and he likes, talking about small business and business ideas. And so, I was ready for him just to start a blab last night with the title of, buying and selling domains. Hey, Twanda, welcome aboard. Great. So, and I'm just going to finish that thought as we welcome Twanda. So you want to turn the light off behind you, or okay, or just shift a little bit.
To a different place.
Okay. So anyway, he was wanting to sell his domains. He is wanting to. And I realized that before he hops on and starts, I think it makes sense for him to hop on as soon as possible and just to start to talk and get familiar with how this platform works. But before that, he should really have a page where people can come see his various domains, possibly contact him to buy them, or at least have a way to join his email list so that he can keep them up to speed with what he's doing. So welcome, Twanda.
Hi, Albert. What a great way to talk to people.
Oh, boy. You are going to love this.
Yeah. I just saw the email and I looked at my clock. I'm like, oh, it's 3 o'clock. I'm tuning in. So this is cool.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So yeah. I hear you giving your history on email.
I have been, yeah.
Cool.
Why don't you take a moment and introduce yourself?
Okay, well, good afternoon, everybody. I am Twanda Hill. Like Albert, I'm an authorized local expert, and I have the pleasure of working with Albert on the Northwest team for Constant Contact. And but I do split time between Phoenix, and as you can see, all the sunshine behind me that I had to close out. I'm in sunny Phoenix, Arizona right now. I've been in business since 1996, and I think, like you, Albert, I just kind of fell into a business that's wrapped around my passions, and that's computers and technology and people and business. I've been in business since 96, working primarily with nonprofits and small businesses. The nonprofits were around events, annual events, and then the small businesses was with helping them put in the systems to grow their business, to develop their business, and help implement the strategies needed to grow. So this is another cool tool. I really like it, even for personal.
You're going to love this.
So how many people can blab together?
4.
4. Okay. This is perfect. Yeah. Sometimes, because it's better than just, I don't know, it just seems very simple.
So when you get a chance, go ahead and type your I was going to say type in your website URL in the chat area, but why do you, if you have a link for people to actually sign up for your list, that you're welcome to put that there too, either or both.
Okay.
Because that's part of what I want to encourage people to get in the habit of here. Oftentimes people will send other people to a resource, whether it's their website or a YouTube or something. But part of the value of using this tool or something like it, or any kind of marketing, whether you're doing Pinterest or LinkedIn or Instagram, is getting people onto a place where you can start having more of a conversation. So if I go to your website and I don't sign up for your email list, unless, there's a way that you can sort of track who I am and stuff by using a Facebook pixel, but that's just a long shot. You have a much better chance of starting to have a rapport with someone if they actually join your list. You have their email address. They've agreed to receive communication. So feel free to post that in there when you get a chance.
I will. I don't know my my list URL by heart, but you can definitely go to my website.
Okay.
And join my list right there from the front page.
Very cool.
Cool.
So here we are. Well, what else did I want to share about that? I was doing a little history of my own involvement in the world of email marketing. Is there any questions you have, or do you want me to ask you a question?
Sure, you can ask me a question.
Sure. Okay. So what's a recent success that you have had with a client who didn't have email marketing and then started to use it?
Recent success. I have a couple of them. I have a client who does a charity run for to benefit autism, and it's going to be in April. And so last year, they had an Eventbrite, and they had a Facebook page, and they have a website, but they didn't have anything that connects all the dots together in one place. So I was able to just recently get them signed up on with Constant Contact and bring everything together, set it up as an event. People can actually register for the race. Everything is right there in one. So I'm expecting, and then their list, we were able to separate their list by the runners, the sponsors. So even though we're sending out some general information, we can also target the runners and the teams and things like that. So that to me is a real great success story for them, because they're a small organization, but it just gives them that more targeted approach. So I'm expecting some good results from them after that event in April.
And you make, where my mind goes after you've talked about that, is a lot of people are looking for a quick fix or a quick burst of activity. Like I've had one client who hadn't sent to his list in a year, and we got together. We made a beautiful new newsletter for him. He sent it. He went home, back to his home office. An hour later, he had 2 jobs and a third one where he was supposed to be bidding on it. And he was all, super happy. And that's great. Like if that kind of thing happens, I think wonderful. But what's really people should know about it is it's also just a great tool for a longer game. Life is long. And so let's say a person isn't ready for whatever it is you're offering today. Let's say those runners have run their race, and they're done for the year. They may not, be interested in whatever it is that the person is offering that next month, but 6 months from now or a year from now, they may be, or along the way, they may figure something comes to them from the organization and they realize, oh, this new person, this new friend of mine who I met at the gym is looking to get involved in running. And so I'm going to forward this newsletter to them. So it's a very powerful tool if used well.
But also too, from that same point of view, from even the sponsors. So the race happens, but as a consumer, if I know what sponsors are supporting community events, I want to shop and support those folks. Right. So if there's a difference between Fry's being one of their supporter or Safeway, I'm going to go to Fry's because I'm going to go, yay, they support this community event that's really important to me. Right. So it's definitely bigger than just the actual event. Mm-hmm. It does have a shelf life that, that's the great thing about what we do, Albert, is we get to show people how to extend the shelf life of their event, of their business, just so that it's not just a one-horse race. Right. That horse to keep lapping and lapping and lapping. And we know every time you go around the lap, you pick up a few more lengths. So
that's great. I had never thought about using horse racing in any way related to what we do.
I know. My brain is kind of doesn't work like normal. Uh-huh.
Well, you're going to so take to this platform. I'm so excited for you to get into a blab with, 3 other people who you may not know. I was actually on my way back from grabbing lunch today. I was with a client, and I realized one of the fun things about this is I've actually fallen in love with a number of people that when we're revealing ourselves and just sharing who we are, what we do, what we think, and we're real about it, which happens on here quite a lot. I mean, I think people have a good reason to be reserved and hold something, don't talk about where you're from necessarily or your birthday or things like that. But beyond that, people are really letting down their guard in a way and showing and revealing themselves. Because also a lot of what this has been about, at least the things I've been drawn to are personal coaching and how to marketing stuff. And part of marketing is being yourself, nurturing relationships, building rapport. And you have a very interesting sunshiny thing happening on your end, which is fine if you want that, but you might want to turn down the sun out there in Phoenix.
Oh gosh.
Anyway, so I'm excited for you. I hope that you'll have the same experience that I have. That's partly why I laughed when you showed up on the blab today, because I know you, and
I love to talk.
Yeah, and I know you're going to just find some people. You'll find some peers. I've got a new friend in the UK, and she is a master businesswoman. I watched one of her YouTubes today. She was presenting at an award ceremony, and she's one of my favorite people that I've met in a really long time. We've started to connect, and if she wasn't married, I might be moving to Kent. So anyway, let's.
Everything happens on Blab, huh? To get the insights.
I'm still the jury's still out with me, but I have to say it's one of the most interesting things that I have bumped into maybe in my life. I have all sorts of comparisons of things that it feels a little bit to me like the 4 a.m. conversation at Burning Man when you're standing next to somebody and you're watching something on fire and it's 4 o'clock in the morning and you're like, I'm exhausted, but I can't go to bed.
Wow. Yeah.
So I'm excited for people to find it and to connect with more people and just deepen the relationships that I've already started. Thanks for sharing. Wonderful. That's a good point.
Yeah, I think I sent a note out to my Facebook friends. So
I saw.
I just love this concept. So, and I love the ability to dialogue.
Right.
Because that's sometimes when we're doing the webinars, they're too large. We miss out on that opportunity to just have some good dialogue.
Right.
So open seat means that there's room for one more person to be able to call in. So I'm not hogging up Two more people. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to make sure I wasn't hogging up someone's term or time.
But one thing I do notice on here is sometimes what happens is I'm not sure if it's for bandwidth reasons or what, but like I've watched some coaches just keep it at 2.
Okay.
But there's many blabs as you start playing around with this and finding your way in. You'll see lots of rooms where there's 4 people talking at once.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Cool. And so now I sent you a message in the message box over on the question side. What's that for?
So if you type a /Q, just give it a try and then type in a question.
/Q.
Mm-hmm.
Do I type that in the message in the chat? Okay.
Yeah, and then just ask a question, and that will pop up for both us to look at as well as the people who are following, who are watching right now.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So what else about email marketing is worth sharing with folks? Until we have some questions, we can just, I'm sure, hold court and talk about our work. One thought I had was to talk about, very good. Cool. So my next workshop in Portland, one that I'm going to tomorrow is actually one of those Kim Flynn workshops. So
cool.
I will, I'll share that with folks.
I got a notice from her asking me if I was interested as well.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious to see what you think of that. Was that a referral from Lisa?
Well, it's a longer story. I'll talk to you about that online. Okay. But I know that Lisa's been involved with that and with that organization, and the organization's kind of reached out to Carissa and asked if we would like to, participate. So Don and I both have referral links. I think Rick does as well. And, whether you're going or not, you can use that to generate income. And
when they sent me the email, they said Portland, and I don't know if they made a mistake of saying Portland and they meant to say Phoenix, because my Portland clientele, I think I have 3.
If people go to any of them and they use your referral link, it's valuable to you. What's interesting is the cost or the price that they pay us for someone showing up is interesting. It's very low. It's hot. It's a nice number. Sure, it takes me out to dinner. But last night I was on a blab with a guy who was talking about how he gets, or the company that he works with, I believe they get $25,000 for a lead. Now, I don't know what the business is. They're obviously selling higher ticket items, but I was kind of like, wow, I need to set my sights higher.
Yeah, those are the kind of leads we want.
Right.
We want the $25,000 a lead. Right. But can you imagine? You probably have to work, a good 3-4 months to get that.
Possibly, yeah. So the blab that I was on was very interesting. It was talking about how to be on the phone. And the guy had a book, I think it was called 3 Minutes from Hello to Yes.
Oh.
It was fascinating. Yeah, and it's so funny, too, because I got on with the guy. He was on there. There were 2 people. And I started watching for a little while. I was trying to actually show some other friends about Blab. And so I said, hey, well, let's go look at this one. And so I get on. And the first minute or 2, I was sort of like, not great presentation. I'm not quite sure what's going on here. And then he totally hooked me. I was like, whoa, this is some cool stuff. So I'm excited. I want to check out his book. And one of the things that you do on here is, let's say you're on a blab with other people, you can click to the right of their name and start to follow them.
Gotcha.
And so that when they blab in the future, you get a notification about it.
Wonderful. That's cool. Yeah, I did. It did ask me to follow you. And I love the clap.
Right?
Clap. Yeah, that's really cool. Because sometimes, you just want to give a thumbs up.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, this is cool, Albert. So, and then as I'm looking at the screen, we can tell there are almost a couple dozen folks listening.
Well, there were. I think a number of people signed on before the blab started. And right now, I think it's you and me and maybe just one other person. I think it's Russell. Russell, if you're still here, you're welcome to jump in. I'm sure you and Wanda would enjoy meeting one another. Russell's down in Australia.
In Australia?
Mm-hmm, I believe it's the same person who I've labbed with before. But let's go back to email marketing, because I'm recording this, by the way.
Gotcha.
And there'll be a replay which I can share with you and people can see, and I'm excited to share that with folks. But one thought I wanted to share with people was asking. You know, you have to ask in life, really, for what you want. And if you don't ask, and that was part of what was valuable to me about this guy on the phone, is that he was working towards the ask. And so, you know, by you and I both posting our links on the sidebar here, we are asking people to join our list. And that's the first step. You know, and luckily it's sort of a low threshold. We're not asking you to give us $200. We're not asking you to go out to dinner with us, although I'm open.
Yeah.
I actually go ahead.
I was going to say, that's the great thing about email marketing. It allows you to create and nurture relationships. One of the things I always like to remind people, though, Albert, is just because we exchange business cards, that doesn't mean I want to get 100, e-blasts from you. So when you say remember to ask, when someone gives me their card, I say, hey, is it okay if I put you on my mailing list? Or better yet, can you just text the mailing list? And so people just need to remember to ask, because it makes it easier. Because if somebody doesn't want to get a bunch of emails, they know they're not reading them. It doesn't hurt my feelings to hear no thank you at this time. I have your website. I know how to get a hold of you. But otherwise, just ask them, if they would like to join your list.
Right. Hey, if you have a headset or earbuds, I would recommend trying that out.
Okay.
Yeah, you both look more professional, and it just tends to work better. Yeah, that's a great point, Twanda. And it's funny. I think when you're first starting out with email marketing, I know I'll speak for myself. When I first started out, and for a long time, I think I haven't been so great at the permission side of things. As I mentioned, my first early story was about, sending an email out to 2,500 people. Now, they were all part of my company, so, there's sort of this implicit understanding that that's going to be the case. So go ahead and speak so we can make sure that you're...
Okay, let's test. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. Were you getting the echo before?
Yeah, and that's part of this platform. The echo factor does come in from time to time, and everybody's just sort of working with it. And, sometimes it's just a matter of adjusting. Sometimes what I recommend is if you have the echo situation going on, just hopping out of the room and coming back in, like clicking yourself off and then coming back in, that tends to work. So I guess this is also a little bit of a blab, how to blab.
How to blab on Blab.
That's part of what Blab is, about. No matter how much a person wants to talk about their thing, people do get sidetracked with just sort of like helping people figure out how to use this platform, because it's very new and there's some things to learn. And there's also taking turns speaking works best, because when we both speak at the same time, it's that's a fail. So asking permission. Awesome. What else? There's so many different ways to grow your list. I mean, one of the workshops that Twanda and I deliver from time to time is called 60 Ways to Grow Your List. And some of my favorites are, with Constant Contact, there's a feature called Text to Join. So for instance, I will put this in the little message area if anyone wants to try this. If you're in the States, I don't think, hey, welcome, Jim.
It's not.
So if you text, have more fun to 22828, you will get a text back that asks you to put in your email address. If you put your email address in and text that back, boom, you're on my email list. And so that's a really lovely feature. And unfortunately, I don't believe that works in the UK, but I'm not positive of that. And but
you're correct.
It does not, right? Yeah. Oh, hey, Jim wants to join us. Fantastic, Jim. Welcome aboard. So Jim Kelly, and what do we know about Jim? It's my guess is his first day on Blab. Welcome. Okay, you're upside down, Jim.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah. So I'm going to kick you off and go ahead and figure that out, and then I'll have you jump back in again. Unless we actually, you know what? Just stick around and figure it out.
I'm hanging like a bat here.
You are. I've never seen that before. I have seen people sideways.
Yeah.
That's maybe a mirror could help.
I know, right? How disorienting. I guess I need to go into Logitech and figure out what my camera's up to.
Hi, Jim. I was going to say, are you on a tablet? That's flipped?
No. I bet you if I flipped it, it would compensate and keep me upside down.
Let's try it. We're curious.
Okay, ready?
Whoa.
Well.
Now you're right side up.
You guys are upside down.
No, we'll just have to deal with that.
That's
Trust
hilarious.
us.
I'm sorry, guys. Very odd. Yeah, so this is my first 30 seconds on Blab. Thanks to you, Albert. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it's very cool. So I've enjoyed listening to your conversation for the last few minutes. And,
great.
Yeah.
What was something that interested you?
I don't know. When I was busy signing up for Twitter, doing my Twitter account thing, you were talking. You had just started saying something about 60 ways to grow your list or something like that.
Okay. Yeah. So the first one I mentioned was something called text to join. Maybe we could bat this back and forth a little bit, Twanda, and just go through a couple of our favorites. Do you want to take one or do one?
I like the old-fashioned fishbowl. People forget, if you have a storefront, put a fishbowl out and have people drop their business cards.
Absolutely.
So, okay, your turn.
Yeah, Jim, I want to mention to you, first of all, please do turn your tablet upside down again. So because you're on the replay, it's just going to be ridiculous that you're upside down.
I know. I might jump. Maybe I should just turn my camera off for the moment.
That's fine too.
How do I do that?
Or you could just put something over the camera, just like put a piece of paper over it or something. Perfect. Anyway,
sorry about that, bud.
That's okay.
All right,
you'll get it.
Yeah,
and you'll start to figure out how this all works. It's a little bit of a learning curve, but not too steep.
I know. I was just expressing to Kathy how frustrating some of this stuff is for me, and she said, "Just relax. You've spent all these years getting really good at what you're doing." And, now you got to figure out the text piece, the tech piece. It's all going to be all right.
Speaking of spending all this time learning what you're doing, do you want to take a moment and introduce yourself and tell us what you do and a little bit about yourself?
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I'm an NLP trainer. I do hypnosis and really kind of some fairly cool form of life coaching where people bring things to me that they consider to be impossible, and I use my toolkit to break it down and figure out how to make impossible more possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are you currently using email marketing?
I am not, and I need to do that. And I just finished signing up on Albert Ideation. I just saw your thing there, so we'll be talking about that. And no, I'm not doing email marketing yet, and yet I am also as we speak, I'm working on coming up with a website that can interface with a nice newsletter and be real simple for announcing events and offering tools, incentives for people to work with me.
Great.
Yeah.
So I've just put in a link that is also an interesting use of SMS technology, where Constant Contact has built a text-to-trial technology. And even if you don't want to have a Constant Contact trial account, I recommend it just to see how it works and things. And it's also what I use, so I do recommend it. Watching how that unfolds. So if you do want a free trial, you can text Albert to 99,000, and then again, it will email you back, or it will text you back, and then you put your email address in, and it will unfold that you'll sign up for trial.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was
Anyway,
the have more fun thing? I was reading that.
Have more fun is how to join my personal email list.
Nice. I like it. Okay. Because the operating question that I ask everybody in my coaching is, if everything were easier and more fun, would that be okay?
Fantastic.
Oh,
we're going to get along well. We should have coffee.
Definitely. Yeah. Coming up. It's going to be
in
fun.
Portland, right?
Yeah. In fact, you and I, we talked about this when we met on Saturday night over at Greta's, and we live within just a few blocks of each other.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. I'm right over here behind the cemetery off of 47.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're by the school right over there. So,
well,
practically.
I'm a commuter. I have a significant other who lives near you, so I was house sitting at her place, but we'll talk.
Okay. There you go.
Good. So let's see. The last one, we're going to just keep batting a couple of these ideas back and forth of ways to, there's 60 ways to join your list. That it's a presentation that Twanda and I do. We've talked about text to join. We've talked about the fishbowl. And I think one of my favorites that I'm just loving, that is, the effortless things in life are often kind of fun, like where you put bird feed in a bird feeder and you walk away and birds eat out of the bird feeder. So one of those in email marketing is I'm using a program called Sumomi, and I will type that in there. So if you come to my website, albertideation.com, all of a sudden something interrupts and it pops over the top of the website. It takes over the whole screen, whether you're on a mobile device or you're on a laptop or tablet, it doesn't matter. And it, I can customize it and I can change it and try different things. Basically, I think my first time doing it, I said something like, take a walk with me through the neighborhood. And what it's showing right now is like this park scene. And it's actually, like one of those very fancy movie images of people hanging out in a park and a parkway. It looks like the park blocks actually in Portland. And so for whatever reason, those seem to work. I'm not super surprised, but every day, at least one person signs up on my website through that portal. So a sign up form, whether you're using Sumomi or you're using some other type of pop-up or just the sign up form on your website itself, that is a great way to gain new interested people who are interested in what you're doing. And so that would be my contribution, Twanda.
So the cool thing too is when you do those web sign up forms, that it actually goes into your constant contact database.
Right.
So you don't have to do 2 steps to get it there. So that's a great one. I also like the Facebook, the join me on Facebook. So on my Facebook page, on my fan page, there is a link right there as well, a button that says join my list.
Do you want to post the link to the one that's on your fan page? So
yes,
people can see an example of that?
Okay, I'll do that. So while you're talking, I'll go grab it.
Okay. Yeah, now one thing to be aware of is when you type on here, that ends up, being noise that goes into the feed. So, some people you can see they haven't quite learned it, but if you can type softly, that helps. And that's for you, Jim, too, as we learn how to use Blab.
Yes,
you're going to love this, Jim. Oh, my God. I can't wait to have you be in a Blab with 3 other NLP personal growth folks. You are just going to have a blast.
Nice.
And when Wanda joined before, just seeing her name, I was like, I lit up, because I just know that she's going to find some peers, friends, romance if you're looking for it. I don't know. But I'll tell you, it's really quite an interesting experience. So let me think of a next. Oh, by the way, if anyone is on here, or if Jim or Twanda, if anybody has any questions, I did say that you would get your questions answered. So far, we've just been sharing our answers to the question that we hope you are having. But if you have actual questions, I would be glad to field them. So let's see, another way. So I mentioned text to join before, but I didn't really mention really where the power of that is. So let's say Jim was at a conference and he's the keynote speaker in front of 1,000 people. Now, likely if he's a keynote speaker in front of 1,000 people, the workshop organizers are probably going to give him a list of the people who are there, and he can reach out to them. Let's say it's a group of 200 people. So instead of collecting business cards, again, you just say, or one of your slides is, to join my list, text, Jim Kelly at 22828. Boom. You get people, or, one of our colleagues, Don Richardson, pulls out his phone at talks. Yeah. Have you seen this before, Twanda?
I have.
So he'll pull out his phone and he'll say, hey, okay, everybody, who has one of these? And 99% of the people have them. And he says, pull them out of your pocket. Now, the point he's often making is pull up your website on this and see what it looks like. He does a lot of mobile presentations. But another way to go about it is, hi, you have one of these? Great, pull it out. Now pull it out and get up into your texting program and do this texting, and you'll join my list, and I'll be able to keep up to date with you. And I'll share with you the presentation I'm giving today, or I will share with you the first chapter of my book, or whatever it is. And, a lot of people at that point too will set up an autoresponder. So let's say, Jim, you're at a conference and you're speaking, someone joins your list, and boom, they start getting into a feed of 6 different ways that you want to feed out to them. So I just wanted to explain a little bit more of the power of that text to join. It's actually, I'm still kind of figuring out. Oftentimes I'll say, here's an answer to something, but I haven't even figured out, oh wait, if you turn it like this, it's even more valuable. So let's see.
That's very cool. I've never heard of text to join before.
Right.
So
good.
Yeah. Nice. Thank you.
Let me think of another one. And the text to join can also be listed in front of your business. It can be a sign at your door. If you have a storefront and you're not there, someone can join your list, get 10% off their next visit, whatever it is you're offering, whether it's massage or a restaurant or something like that. Let's see, what's another one? So at a store or restaurant, having an actual sign-up form, that's nicely tricked out. Like, let's say you've got a logo, make it a color sheet of paper, and put first name and email address. Oh, we've just been joined by someone who looks a little familiar to me. That is Russell. Oh, you're back. Great. Hey, Russell, if you want to join in, feel free. If you want to ask a question, go for it. It's great to see that you're with us again. So we're talking email marketing, and I've talked text to join out the door and out the wazoo. So Twanda, what do you got?
So growing your list as well. I like to, if you are a business and you have a table tent, so whenever I'm there at a restaurant or something, I always look at the table tents to see what's going on there. And then one of my favorite ones are the QR codes, because that can take you to the website. It can take you to join your list. Because if you notice, when you go to a restaurant and you look at the bottle of Heinz ketchup, there's a QR code on there. And why does Heinz need a QR code? Well, if you actually use your scanner and see what they're offering, they tell you some unique things about ketchup. Sometimes they're having contests where you can enter to win a trip or something. So it's a great way to keep people entertained using your business while you have them in a stationary place. So check presenters, table tents, those are great ways to connect with people. We talked about the signs out, the A-frames outside. On the bottom of a receipt or an invoice, hey, have you joined my mailing list? And then one of my most favorite ones is that when you're on the phone with somebody, just ask them on the phone, hey, right, are you on my mailing list? Can I add you to it? And usually people will say, sure, why not?
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and email addresses are, so we all have one. To participate in any social media game, let's say, or platform, you have to have an email address, right? So that sort of shows you the power of the email address. Facebook is not asking for your phone number. I mean, for security reasons it is. Twitter is not asking for your phone number. LinkedIn is not asking. Pinterest is not asking. They're asking for your email address. So that gives you a sense of the value of that. So somebody else just joined. Welcome, whoever. So Russell's asking a question. Russell's asked, what size lists have you created for yourselves? Okay. So part of the, I'll start, unless you want to jump in, Twanda.
No, go ahead.
Okay. So size doesn't matter. Which is something that I teach people, actually, that you can start from very little list. You can start with 10 people and have quite an impact. I'm working with a home inspector out in Vermont right now who, he's just starting where he is. He's working with a list of the people that he's actually done work with, and it's not a giant list. Now, I'll answer your question, though. I have my list segmented into lots of sub lists. So I think in total, including friends and family, which is a list of about 3,000. I don't know how that happened, but that's reality. Well, it happened because of a lot of the stories that I was talking about earlier about having email pretty early on and being connected to a lot of people, being a networker, being in a number of different social circles and things. So I have about 3,000 people on my friends and family list, and then I have about 3,000 people on my business list, maybe more like 3,500. And then I also keep sort of sub lists around a couple of key topics. One of my projects is called Farm My Yard. That's something where I bring farmers together or urban farmers together with people who have houses. And that's about 350 people. I have a list of people in my neighborhood who are interested in preserving the old trees of Portland. That's about 150 people and growing quickly because we're losing trees real fast here, big trees. And then I have a family list of about 45, and I've got a list of people from my high school that's about 50. And sadly, I mean, I wish that was bigger because I'd love to help people from my past. A lot of them both could use help, and we already have that long-term relationship. So there's something sweet there that, and a lot of what I do with email marketing in my life in general is helping people thrive, and whether it's through happiness or it's through. I'm sorry, my computer just decided it wanted to talk to me. Helping them with their small business or helping them with their relationships or whatever it is. I'm sure you feel the same way, Kelly, and I'm sure you do as well, Twanda. So, that's partly why I wish, I had more of a connection with some of those people. But, that'll come if and when it's meant to. So that's my answer. I would say about 6,500. And where I was going to go, I just want to backtrack a little bit, or actually maybe I'll bookmark LinkedIn because I want to talk about LinkedIn in a minute. But go ahead, and Twanda, if you want to field that one.
Sure. And it's so interesting because when I first started with Constant Contact, I didn't import my entire contact list. I still haven't because I'm really trying to be very specific in my interactions with people in the email list. So right now I'm probably at close to 1,500 people, whereas my main contact list had 4,000. And that included families and friends and just folks that I've met over the years. But my biggest piece that I do is I segment my list by Washington businesses, Arizona businesses, and then non-Washington, non-Arizona. Because when I'm sending out workshop information, if I'm doing webinars, I can send it to everybody. But if I'm doing specifically workshops in Arizona, I don't want to frustrate or use up my chance with my Washington customers, having them open up an email that doesn't give them a call to action that's useful for them. So I think it's not really how large your list is, but segmenting it and thinking about in your business, what categories are your clients? How do you need to be in touch with them along the way? Because that's what's going to really help your call to actions turn over quicker than sending it out to a bunch of people and say, yeah, I've sent it out to 4,000 people and maybe I got 10 responses. But if you had 100 great people you're able to specifically address needs that they have. I also segmented by people who've taken the Constant Contact workshop. I stopped trying to keep track of which workshop they've done, but I like to know who my Constant Contact subscribers are and who my trialers are. So I get to be very specific about how I'm talking to people.
That's interesting. That topic right there, you and we should probably get on the phone again because I feel like that's an area that I've been getting more and more, it's almost each time I do some segmenting or teasing apart a list, I'm like, oh my God, why didn't I think of this 4 years ago? You know? So it's an ongoing learning experience. But
okay.
that's part
Russell
of this whole
question.
thing.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
No, he wrote it down here. Was asking to see if we're talking more niche conversation or massive bulk ones. And I think we're talking about both because Albert, your list is 4,500. There are some times when you would send out to that entire bulk list.
Yeah.
Are you talking more than 4,500, Russell? So if he answers that, so
whoa,
more than 20,000.
Great.
I don't have that many in my capacity, but when I first started with Constant Contact over a year ago, the gal in Virginia, I think she's at Santa Cruz, she worked for one of the big companies like Xerox, and they use Constant Contact. And they had lists that were 100,000 people plus, so it does have the capacity to go really large.
Yeah, I've got clients that have 80,000 people. Somebody's got something going on. Jim, is that you?
No, it sounds like somebody's. Yeah.
Oh,
okay, that's Swan.
Sorry, that was my phone trying to ring.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, for Russell, we can talk about that. There's definitely different strategies to employ, and fortunately, as a small business person, when you have a smaller list, I think you have the advantage of being able to be more yourself. It's almost like the smaller the list is, the more you can show your true colors. As your list gets bigger, and Russell says he'd like to talk more about segmented strategies. That's great. Feel free to hop on now, or we can talk another time. So yeah, but people who have lists in the 50,000, even 15,000. Oh, Russell's going to join us. Very cool. People who have those type of lists do employ different tactics. Unfortunately, I think they're less able to be to use their heart as much, because wow, I'm speaking to 80,000 people and I'm probably selling something or I'm sharing some particular news. So that's actually, you know what? I realize as I'm talking about this that it's an area that I'm fuzzy in. So maybe you'll have some something to share. You're here with us, Russell. Okay, well, he tried to jump in. One of the things that happens on Blab, by the way, is that people want to come in, and sometimes it takes a few times. So go ahead and give it another try. Okay, he's changing computers. Great. So I wanted to bookmark LinkedIn because my mind was going towards let's say you're starting from zero, and where do you start? Now it's going to depend on different people and different situations. But let's say you're starting a new business. You're opening a restaurant. Okay, so you have no previous customers. So how do you build an email list? And we've talked about a couple of the ways. The text to join is great. Having an autoresponder that sends people a 10% off coupon after their first visit. Having a fishbowl where you're going to do a monthly drawing or something like that. And those are all great ways to do it. Well, hey, Russell, welcome aboard.
How you going?
Hey, I'll stop talking for a second. Want to go ahead and introduce yourself and say hi to folks?
Hi, I'm Russell Pearson, and I run a company here in Melbourne, Australia, that does a lot of marketing work. And email marketing is very interesting to me. And the question that I had on the side just about what we were talking about related to what strategies you'd be discussing. And while most of my clients do niche work, sort of less than a couple of thousand, I do have some colleagues and clients that are sort of setting out to 20,000, 80,000. And with them, there's very different things to talk about. Not necessarily the conversation that you're having, because you can still have a conversational tone to the email, but more the technology to sort of manage multiple streams of people. What happens to them after the email, spam issues. Right. That's a big one actually, because especially people starting with a list of maybe clients that, let's say it's a relatively large company, and the canned spam law here in Australia, I don't know if it's the same over in the US, but there's certain requirements, and one of those is that you don't go out to a client that you haven't worked with for the last 2 years, but many of those people have worked with 100,000 people in the last 2 years. And so
right.
they want to suddenly go out and talk to their entire list, and you can get blacklisted as a spam, and not just through your portal, but right along your email line.
Sure.
So yeah, I'm just wondering if you've encountered that, if you've got any strategies that you prefer to work with when you're talking to a client with a large list that's new.
Mm-hmm. I do have an idea, but I'm happy to share or ask Twanda if you want to take that, or I'm happy to.
Well, I'm kind of listening to, because I got a lot of things that are going through my mind as well. I think when you're dealing with large numbers, there definitely has to be a clear call to action so that that's how I would get the measured response from people. Sure. But I also think, you got to get that, Russell? Hello.
No, that was me. Sorry, guys.
Oh, that's Jim. Okay, no problem. So having that clear call to action, making sure that the email is mobile friendly so that people are looking at it on the devices and they're not having to take too much time scrolling and moving to move to the next whatever your call to action is. And then also too, offering an incentive to them along the way, because if I get a list that's from one of the larger corporate companies, and I know they send out, it's very impersonal, but if there's some way you could actually give me something that will excite me to call to action, that'll make me welcome this massive corporation email that I know is going out to hundreds and hundreds of thousands. So just some special incentive.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow. If it's a list that's 100,000, you're talking about probably using a program that behaves differently than anything I'm used to, like Infusionsoft, or there's one out there called Green Rope now. And my guess is that they do things like send emails out at different times. There's probably staggered sending that happens.
Yeah.
And I actually, really, to be honest, what I would recommend is talk to, I've got a guy, I don't think he's online right now, but his name's Marcus. He's at Infusionsoft. And that would be a great question for him.
Yeah,
if he does hop on, we'll bring up the topic again.
So I just started using Infusionsoft, and because of the nature of and I don't even, you tell me the language, because I'm not using the right language, I don't think, but the different roads that you send people down.
Right. So within Infusionsoft,
so let's say they
leading them in different directions.
Yeah, so they took one action, they went down this road. They took a different action, they went down this other road.
Mm-hmm.
What do you call those things?
Mapping.
Okay. Yeah, or maybe gates.
Gating.
Right.
All right. So because they're going through different gates, they're getting different email sequences. So things are drip feeding out.
Right.
But it's when you do those big bulk ones, and suddenly a percentage says spam, and then bang, blacklist.
Okay, so where my, I'm not sure how it would work with 100,000, because you're facing, to send something to 100,000 people at once. You can use the program that I'm most familiar with, which is Constant Contact. But if you uploaded a list like that, they would be on the phone with you first before you could send, and they would say, "Hi, where did your list come from? Talk to us about the list." Okay, well, we're going to work with you to make sure that when you send, that your account isn't shut down. And
we work with Campaign Monitor on a lot of those sort of things, and they've been pretty good. They'll call us up, but they've slapped us on the finger a couple of times.
Sure. So I feel good sharing this with people. I think it's sort of common knowledge. I would send out the list. I would send out the email in a staggered fashion. So probably, if you had a way to automate it, I would send to 100 people at a time over the course until you've reached your 100,000. And possibly that's one way to sort of test your list. There's also companies out there that will check the authenticity of your list. Mm-hmm. So they'll go, okay, here's your 100,000 emails. You pay them a couple $100, and they'll tell you back, okay, 20,000 of these don't exist anymore.
Yes.
Great. You take those off. You pay a college kid to sleuth and find where have those people gone.
Okay, great.
Which is a whole interesting blab to come. Okay. Well, thank you so much for being with us, Twanda. It's really
Bye,
great to see you.
everybody. Thank you so much, Albert. Great job. Here
I'm
you go.
so excited that I got to share your first blab with you. I
Yeah.
hope you'll go blabbing out into the blabosphere and check it out, because I think you're going to really, really enjoy it.
Enjoy it. Okay. Thank you, guys. Good night, everyone.
Good
Thank
night.
you. Bye.
Well, cool. That was
So
that was awesome.
Yeah, great. The other thing I was interested in too, and a strategy that I'm using, maybe you've got a better idea. Let's say that we haven't worked with these clients in 5 years. Maybe it's a business that's got a cycle of 5 to 7 years of real estate or moving or something like that. To reactivate, what we've been doing a lot of is going postal with a very strong incentive and even a personalized postal piece to actually bring them back in to the digital side of things. Now the return's pretty good, but it's far less than 50%. Do you have better ways of getting people back onto a list once it's sort of been neglected?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I think depending on the industry or business, I almost would think that you might do better to spend your time trying to find new, fresh leads. That said, there certainly are tools out there. Like, for instance, LinkedIn is a really great address book. So let's say you have an email for somebody, or you have a name of somebody who's, from a certain town, and you found out that their email has changed. You can do some sleuthing and reconnect with them that way. But if you haven't communicated with people for 5 to 7 years, I'm not really sure, maybe even some telemarketing.
Yeah, it's just very expensive.
Are you interested in this thing that we do? You don't have to personally do it, but you could find, I've got
a telemarketing business, but you
do?
But it's localized. So the trick is to keep brand in line. So if you go offshore telemarketing, you've got a good way of destroying your brand unless you're going out with some sort of generic offer. But the localized stuff, which means we're actually employing people here in the studio or the building, is really effective. But it still costs me, $25 per hour. So.
Right. Hey, I wanted to open it back up to Jim. Jim, you've been hearing us babble on for a little bit. Would you like to either chime in with something to offer, or if you have any questions that have come up?
Well, thanks. I appreciate that. I am a happy spectator at this point. Okay. So much of what we're talking about is, I'm still in the elementary phases of figuring out how to do everything. 6 years of full-time practice in the same location, and just realized that nothing that I've done with the interwebs has been any of, I can't. None of my websites make any sense anymore. I'm basically starting over in the digital world.
Okay. Do you mind if I ask you a question, Jim?
Yeah, you bet.
So if you're in the coaching space, and I think that's what I heard you say before.
I am.
What are you doing, if nothing digital yet, to continue to stay connected with clients that you've worked with and not necessarily solve their problem, but help them move through a phase in their life?
I have no recontact plan at all.
Okay.
Because it just before, I don't know, maybe you were listening in, but I essentially help people with things that are, they consider to be somewhat impossible. And then if they want to continue to learn, I can start to train them in how things can be easier and more fun, and some of the basics of NLP that actually aren't as easy and simple to learn as NLP marketers would have one think. I've been operating referral only. I've got some folks over in London that put me on their website back in 2010, and they found me. and it's a hypnosis and NLP coaching website called justbewell.com.
Mm-hmm.
And so they found out that Richard Bandler he's a co-creator of NLP, thinks that I've got a couple of brain cells to rub together, and they found out about that, and they contacted me and it put me on their site. And I've been operating basically referral only ever since.
How busy is your practice?
Sometimes I can be up over 25 hours a week in meetings, face to face or on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And I really backed that down to where, at this point it's closer to 10 or 12 while I figure out how to get on the web.
Oh, good. Well, I'm excited to work with you. I'll help you.
Thank you. I need your help, Albert.
Yeah. I mean, you could also, I'll tell you, to be honest, you could just go start jumping into some blabs of personal coaches and listen to what people are doing. I mean, maybe you've done some of that already, but I have a feeling
I haven't.
Your email list. No, I know. I mean, this is your first day, so
yeah.
But,
thanks to you.
I do encourage you to go and surf around a little bit. Maybe when we're done or whenever you feel like it, really.
Yeah.
And go into some spaces where there are people who do what you do, because you're going to be really inspired. Like
nice.
The people on here who are doing coaching. I was on a coaching Blab last night. In fact, my first night on Blab, I jumped into this room with this guy who's, I think his dream job is to be a coach for the Angels. He likes the California Angels.
A little bit of that, yeah.
Right.
Nice.
So anyway, that's what we were talking about last night. But when I first jumped in with him a week ago, he coached me on weight loss issues, and he was fantastic. And
nice.
He was just out there offering his services and offering his wisdom. And, if you wanted to go to his website, you could and sign up for a free consultation. And he's probably, if he's not super busy already, he could be if he wanted to be. And he's just kind of shifting from private practice to wanting to do more sort of other things, let's just say. And so he's done with, being a chiropractor and being a come and meet me in my office kind of person. But he just blew me away. I've now become like number one fan. I'm like, how can I serve you?
That's cool.
Yeah.
I love that.
Hey, I want to keep blabbing with you guys, but I want to end the email marketing official part of the blab and the replay. And also, I'm just going to sign off as Albert Kaufman. People can join my list at albertideation.com. And we'll just keep talking with the folks that are on here. And thank you for joining me this week. And we'll do this again.
Nice.